check it out. She's running really good now. All right, so the 372 that we blew all the bolts off of, well, I just got done working on the saw, and you want to know what happened? So as far as I can tell, all that happened is we broke some bolts. I went through the entire crankcase. I cannot find anything wrong. So that's it, just busted bolts. I'm guessing they just failed. Probably had one or two fail, and it was kind of like a cascading issue where once one went, another one went, you know what I mean? I didn't bottom the bolts out. I checked that. None of them bottomed out. So the other possibility is that I over-torqued them and caused stress by over-torquing them. So I'm leaning more towards the over-torquing of the bolts caused them to fail. That's what I'm going to lean towards. So I actually got this all back together now. We're going to give it the first fire up. But I did make some changes. Nothing super drastic. I got my new head in for my Lucky Dog, so I went ahead and cleaned up the uppers. I did not change the timing. I just wasn't happy with the quality of the grinding work, so I went in and just cleaned them up a little bit. The other change that I made should actually be more of a drastic change as far as the way it performs. So this was basically an experiment to see how the squish number would affect the performance of this saw. So when we first started it out, we had a 96-degree exhaust roof. I'm trying to remember, I think it was like an 82 intake with a 124 transfer. I think that's the numbers. You'll have to look back at the other previous video to tell me 100%, but I'm pretty certain those are the numbers. The thing is that I set the squish up at 32 thousandths. I think it was 32, 34, something like that. So I've been suspicious that whenever we build a saw with a large squish number, that it's actually very important to run your squish tighter. So what we were seeing before was with the squish sitting at like 32, 34 thousandths. I took that back down to 25 thousandths. And that did change the numbers like a degree or two all across the board, but I made a change to the exhaust. I actually took it up to 94 degrees. So those of you who are used to, I don't know, those of you who have seen this saw running before might think I'm crazy by taking it to 94 because it wasn't running super great at 96 before. I am quite, well, I'm just going to say I'm pretty confident that the issue before was that we were running our squish number too large for a larger squish, or for a larger squish band. The larger squish band, well, maybe if I'll explain it to you this way. The fuel in the squish band area does not burn with the main charge. It does burn, but just not with the main charge. It doesn't really contribute to any power. So by having a larger squish area with a larger squish number, it's holding a decent amount of fuel there that doesn't produce or doesn't contribute anything to power. So by running a smaller squish number, that should move a decent amount of fuel in to help contribute to power. So we're going to boost compression by, putting a tighter squish number in there. We're going to move more of the fuel in to be burnt with the main charge, and we're going to be running a higher roof than what we were before. So, how's she going to turn out? This is a big bore 372, and a lot of folks have trouble getting these to produce any power, really. And this is me kind of being like, okay, well, let's see if we can get let's see if we can pull this off. Get a little crazy on reporting, you know what I mean? You guys have seen it. It's quite wild. Some folks actually think that kind of stuff can cause you to lose power. And it can, but it depends on what you do. It's just like anything. You got your exhaust, your transfer, and your intake, and your carburetor, and all this stuff kind of works together. You can't just do one, expect it to help. You gotta kind of do one thing and then do another thing over here and then another thing over here to kind of, what would you say, to kind of utilize the potential of what you did. So that's kind of what we're doing here. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and see if this thing will pop off. We're gonna check here. It should notice a considerable difference in compression now. Before, I didn't need to use the compression release. So I don't even know if it was much above stock, but because of the large squish area, a little bit of movement will make a big difference in the compression, because the combustion chamber is so small now after the machine work. So a little adjustment here will make drastic changes. So we should notice a good jump in the compression, and it should, I don't know, you should notice it in the way it runs. But what do you say? Let's see if she pops off here. I don't have the bar and chain on it yet. We'll be taking it out here in a second and giving it a test cut if this works out. Alrighty, so let's see what happens. I screwed up my wrist, my left wrist, really bad, so this is going to be a challenge. Let's see how she pulls. Yeah, I can definitely feel it now. I'm going to use a compression release. Ready? Alrighty, so first thoughts are that it feels like it's running really rich. So hopefully this thing decides to take off now. And it is almost dark. Do you think we can get some cuts in before the sun goes down? All right, we're gonna fire it up here, see if we can get a quick tune here, and then we'll take it down to a bigger piece of wood. Let's see how she does. Alrighty. Remember, this is a 94 exhaust roof. So the question is, do these really high exhaust roofs cause you to lose power? Or can you do other things to make it work? You know what I mean? So there we go. That's a big bore Holtzfforma 372 with probably the cheapest aftermarket top end you can buy. 94-degree exhaust roof. That's what she runs like. I can tell you she will not be a big bar saw. I mean, the 20-inch, I'd just leave it on the 20-inch if it were me. You could do a 24, you know what I mean. But I'd probably just leave it kind of on that setup personally. But there she is. And I'm pretty happy right now. I think she needs rain a little more. If you're familiar with breaking saws in, your first couple of cuts are always kind of compared to where you end up after, you know, a handful of tanks. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of where we're at. I think we just need to run or something. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. She's running pretty much exactly the way I was hoping it would run. We do got to put a tack on it yet, see if we achieve my goals. My goal has always been 13,000 RPM in the cut. I don't think we hit it with this one. Maybe in the 12s somewhere, but time will tell, you know. I want to run another couple of tanks out of it before I do that tack run. I just want to make sure, you know, everything is settled in. And in case you're wondering, I mean, we were playing with the timing there earlier, and we found out that the factory timing for this saw is the best spot to run it. So no timing adjustment whatsoever. But there you go. So yeah, I'm tickled. In case you're wondering, you know, the if you do your blowdown figures at a 94-degree exhaust roof and 124-degree transfer, how much blowdown do we got? You know what I mean? 30. That's a 30-degree blowdown number. So sometimes you want to go longer. Sometimes you want to go shorter. Personally, I'm finding that you can get your RPM with a longer blowdown number. But as you've seen with this one, I am porting a little different than what a lot of folks do. You know what I mean? The intake's quite long. She's what, 83 or so? You know what I mean? It involves different tactics in your builds, and I'm pretty tickled with this one. You know what I mean? She's very forgiving. She doesn't seem to want to fall on her face at all. So not having any issues with that, at least right now. I think the biggest thing with this saw right now is the idle. Just a little funky, and I'm pretty certain that's just because of the way I have it ported. I find that whenever I get to porting like this, the idles tend to get a little funky on you, if you know what I mean. But I'm not worried about that too much, you know. Run her a little fat on the idle and adjust your idle screw and just kind of deal with it, because this wasn't really built to go out there and be my primary firewood saw, if you know what I mean. But I'm pretty happy with it regardless. The muffler is, you know, my typical muffler mod. And a lot of folks do prefer the other style where you put like a 3/4 or 1-inch pipe out of it. They sound better. This method here, I actually prefer the other method with that port. This is because of the races. And I've run into issue before where I could not hear my saw running at the races. While I'm cutting, I couldn't hear nothing. In fact, last year, there was a gentleman behind me, and his saw was so loud that even with my hearing protection, it hurt. Like, it physically caused pain to be within close proximity to his saw running. I mean, so I wasn't wearing the earmuffs. I was wearing earplugs, and the earplugs weren't enough. And if you've ever been around something that's so loud that it actually hurts, and you can feel it kind of like a sharp tingliness in your ears. You know what I mean? That's loud. And whenever you can't hear your saw at the races, it kind of screws with you a little. You know what I mean? It's hard to feel it through the cut if you can't hear it. So, you know what I mean? You're kind of applying pressure, you're listening to it, you're feeling it through the cut to try to get the fastest cut speed out of it. And if you can't hear it, then it kind of screws you. And that's the main primary reason I do these muffler mods like this, is to make them louder so that I can hear it at the races. Otherwise, I'm screwed. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. She's running pretty good. We're going to give her a couple more test runs, and as time goes on, and see how she progresses. We may go back into it again. We may not. And, I mean, luckily, all we had was those couple of bolts break on it. We could have had a major bottom end failure. But as you can see, she's running just fine. All I did was put new bolts in it. So, hey, we got lucky on this one, I think. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.